Yeah, buddy. Now that is what we like to see. So it's time now to wrap up this project. Well, other than that one little piece being the air intake that I'm gonna apparently have to wait on forever. But the bed, as I've been talking about in some other videos, becomes a critical part of these mid-size trucks because you just don't have much space in the second row. So a lot of guys use the bed as your main storage area. And so, like a lot of you, I wanted to have a dry and secure area back here to keep my things, whether it be hunting equipment, camping equipment, or just going to the store. I got a little box here that I keep a lot of my toe straps and snatch blocks and stuff like that in. And you guys know those things are not very inexpensive either. I mean, you can spend a lot of money on just a toe strap, you know, and your winching gear and stuff is something that adds up in cost, you know, so I don't want that stuff stolen either. I want to kind of keep it out of prying eyes and, you know, just give it some more security. So I decided to put a bed cover on. Now the option that came up at the last minute that really intrigued me is that new Best Top Super Top, and Soft Topper kind of made the same thing for a long time. It's a soft top that's sort of like a camper shell. Those are really cool. You know, they do fold down against the front of the bed here, and you know, it opens up the entire space. But then when you put them up, then you have this huge, you know, area back here to store things. It was really intriguing, and I like that idea. But they're really expensive and they're not secure. I mean, anybody could come along and unzip them and get in just a matter of seconds. So even though those are so awesome, and one of these days I might try one, you know, for the time being, I just decided against it. So this cover that I went with is the Gator EFX cover. When you open the box, you're gonna see your rails left and right, obviously the folding cover, and then some hardware. These are actually much more simple than a lot of the covers on the market, because it's just, I mean, that's just one unit that tri-folds. So basically, once you get your rails on there, you can just set this in place and you're good to go. They're actually pretty simple to install. So I'll show you some just basic little highlights. But more than anything, I just kind of wanted you to see what this cover looks like and how it functions on the truck. Now, the cool thing about this cover, I got it from Gator. You can get it from Amazon or different places. I found that getting it from Gator, I saved a lot of money. I actually contacted their customer service people and just asked them if they have any discounts going on these. And the lady gave me a little bit of a discount, and it was the least expensive place I found to get it. Now these covers, you can get them for around $650, and all of the competitors' covers like this are $800, $900, $1,000. So there's a lot of money to be saved here. Made in the USA, looks to be of good quality, and this should be a pretty good solution for the Jeep Gladiator guys. All right, so word of advice for you. First thing you have to do is put this bracket on. This one is marked L for the left side. Obviously there's another one that goes over there marked R for the right side, but this bracket goes in here, right? And it uses an existing hole in your bed. Now, if you have the cargo management package that has that trail rail right here, you're gonna have to remove that. And you probably won't have any issues because your threads will already be cleaned out. But if your truck is like mine and it does not have the rail here, and you've got the spray-in bed liner, do yourself a favor and get you a die set and run through there and clean those threads out first. Reason why is because I tried to put one of these included bolts in the hole without cleaning out the threads, and it basically broke the head off the bolt, which lodged the body of the bolt in the threads, which has required me drilling that out. And then I had to go down to my father's house and borrow his die kit so I can try and clean these threads back out. And it's not going so well. So, word of advice, clean out the bed liner material from the hole before you begin doing this, because you know, this is the kind of thing that happens to me all the time. I try to do a project that should take 10 minutes and it ends up taking 2 hours because of stupid little things like this. But if you do the prep work first, you won't run into this issue. All right, so the next step is back here in the back, you've got these little brackets. You're gonna do the same thing, guys. Take your tap and go through there, clean up the threads on that bracket, because those were kind of the same way over there. And you got one over here too, obviously, but the threads were kind of boogered up from the painting process. So make sure you go through there, chase the threads, clean them out before you put those brackets on. And then you're going to go ahead and put your bulkhead seal on. I put a little extra in the corner because there was some left over, but the instructions just tell you to put one bead across there. And so now we're ready to put the rails on. So in that last image I just showed you, I had those rear brackets upside down, so you got to flip those over, and the reason why is because these two little studs right here slide down in there. Now you'll notice they have little black caps on them. You have to pull those caps off, obviously, and then those studs just drop down in the rear brackets and you put the nuts on. That's what secures those. So yeah, I'm learning as I go here. You got to flip those brackets over, and I kind of jinxed myself because I was talking about how easy this is. And like is usually the case, it's turned into a little bit of a project for me. But you guys can learn from my mistakes and it will go a lot smoother for you. All right, so that was a little bit more of a project than I had anticipated, but the bulkhead seal is on. The water drain tubes are in. All of the hardware is bolted on. You don't have to actually drill any holes in your bed. You use the existing holes. Back here in the back, you do have to trim this plastic bed rail cover. You got to do some minor trimming on it on both sides back there to make room for that rear bracket. But that's the only modification you have to do to the bed of the truck. Everything else uses existing holes. Like I said, make sure that you get a thread tap and go through your threads and clean them out before you try to run these bolts in, because these bolts are really cheap bolts and they will break pretty easily. But everything is on, the rails are installed, and now I'm finally ready to just lay the bed cover on here, clamp it down, and show you what it looks like. All right, so initial thoughts on this cover. It looks pretty nice. It does have a nice look to it. It clicks into place nice. Feels sturdy. This rubber seal down through here, I think, just needs to relax in the sunlight a little bit. One thing I'm kind of curious about is back here, you know, the instructions, I followed them perfectly. They said to put this bulkhead seal right in the middle of that front part of the bulkhead, which I did, but the seal that's on the cover rests on top of it. And I feel like that this should have been about a ½ inch farther toward the bed. You can crawl up underneath of here and you can actually see daylight down in here now. I feel like this whole cover should have been slid forward, you know, toward the cab of the truck about a ½ inch, but you can't do that because of the way that those clips, those clamps, the way they mount up under here, you can't slide it that far forward because it interferes with those drain tubes. So I had to slide it back to this position just to get the clamps on. So I'm not real sure about that. You know, time will tell whether or not this ends up being an issue with leaking and what have you. Hopefully it won't. But other than that, the top, the cover looks real nice, feels sturdy. It opens and closes real easily. And obviously you can close the tailgate, and it seals off back here too. Now, some people have said that they end up getting a little bit of water intrusion with just about any cover on the market back here because of the way that the Gladiator is molded and designed back here on the top of the tailgate. So optionally, you could get your own seal, weather stripping, and put in there, and that may be something that I do later on. But I think it's a pretty nice looking cover. Actually, it fits really nice, and you know, it wouldn't have hurt it to be another inch longer. Get a ½ inch more back here and a ½ inch more on the front, but looks pretty good, and time will tell how it holds up. If you want to release it, you got these little cables, one on either side that you just pull, and there you go. Now, one thing about this cover, it folds up to the front and you have the buckles that you can secure it with, but it does not fold straight up, which is one of the things that I had told you guys I kind of would like to have. It doesn't do that, but the ones that do that are $400 or $500 more money. And you know, if I'm gonna use the entire bed, I can always take this thing off. I mean, it's got 4 thumb screws up underneath of it, and you can take the entire thing off in a matter of seconds. So I don't know that I would really drive with it in the up position. Even if it could do that, it would block the entire view out of the rear window, and I'd be kind of worried about the stress from the wind anyway. So this will work just fine, nice and secure, looks good. Time will tell how it holds up, I'll update you later on, let you know if I actually have any water leaks or any issues with it. But for now, that's the Gator EFX tri-fold cover for the Jeep Gladiator. What do you guys think? All right, so that's gonna pretty much put a wrap on this great all-around Jeep Gladiator build. Just to recap what I've done here, started off with a 2-inch lift and then put what is basically a 35 1150 mud terrain tire on it. So that gave me more ground clearance and more capability. As far as going off-road, also put the winch bumper and winch on, so if we get into trouble, we can get ourselves out or help someone else or whatever the case might be. In the winter time around here, when it snows and we have ice, the winch can also become handy out on the road too. You never know what you're going to run into. So we enhanced the off-road capability of the vehicle just a little bit. But we didn't go extreme because, again, this is an all-around truck build. We want it to be great at a lot of different things, you know, or at least really good at everything. So that was the off-road portion. As far as the on-road portion, I did the Timbren suspension enhancement system, which I actually was running on the Ram 1500, and I just swapped it over to this Jeep because the rear suspension on the Gladiator is really similar to the rear suspension on the Ram 1500. So those Timbren progressive rubber springs just swapped right over, and that gave me some more load carrying capability. We also got the Husky Centerline TS weight distribution hitch for pulling the big 8.5 by 24 foot trailer. So that took care of the ability for this truck to haul and tow. With the diesel engine and the Timbren kit and that weight distribution hitch, this thing is a monster when it comes to towing. We completely loaded down that 24-foot trailer earlier this summer and went to Badlands Off-Road Park, and the truck did a phenomenal job. It stayed cool, it didn't overheat, it cruised down the highway, even in stiff crosswinds in overdrive, and it got about 12 miles per gallon. So just fantastic hauling and towing performance out of this Gladiator EcoDiesel. So off-road is covered, on-road is covered. We finished it up by putting this bed cover on, which is something that's going to give me a little bit more security and a nice trunk, if you will, to keep things that don't necessarily fit in the cab of a mid-size truck. And the cherry on top, the thing that you've got to have if you own a Jeep, is coming up to finish the series. So I'm probably forgetting something. There's a couple of other little things that we've done along the way. As far as performance, just getting a little more power out of the truck. We did the catback exhaust kit from MBRP, and I'm waiting still on the AFE Momentum cold air intake kit, which they claim proved 39 additional pound-feet of torque on the dyno. So that's a pretty big deal. If it's true that you're getting almost 40 more pound-feet, then that would put the torque output on this thing about to where the Ram 1500 is. You know, they got those tuned for 480 pound-feet, a little stronger than the Jeep. But that AFE air intake could open it up a little bit, help it breathe, and that combined with the catback exhaust, I'm hoping, is putting more power to the ground. So again, some on-road performance, off-road performance, just general, you know, bolt-ons for some power. It's a good place to haul things in here, nice and secure, and that's going to pretty much wrap it up. It's a great truck. It's a good build because, like I said, it does everything really well now. If you want to, you know, take it to the store to get things, or if you need to haul things, if you need to pull a trailer, if you need to go off in the woods and just have a good weekend, if you need to help somebody else get out of trouble, you can pretty much do anything you want to do with this truck now. It's kind of like a little Swiss Army knife. But at the end of the day, like Jeep always says, it's 100% truck, but it's also 100% Jeep. So the cherry on top, the final thing I'm doing is to open up the top a little bit and make that more convenient with a Best Top Sunrider for hardtop, which I'm sure you've all seen. I was one of the first guys to run one of those on a Gladiator a couple years ago, thanks to Best Top, who gave me one to review online for them, and I really loved the product, so I found a nice used one from a member on the Jeep Gladiator forum to put on this truck, and like I said, I'm going to consider that to be the cherry on top. So I appreciate you guys watching. fantastic truck. If you're looking at these things, if you're shopping them, I highly recommend them. Very, very cool vehicles that are also extremely functional. You can do anything you want to do with them, and the diesel engine so far has been fantastic. I highly recommend it also. The mileage I'm getting out of this thing, which I'm going to be doing some more videos on, is really impressive with the lift, with the big mud tires and everything. Changing up the aerodynamics on the front end. You know, everything I've done to it has kind of been detrimental to fuel economy, but this thing is still knocking down some really good numbers, which I'll be keeping you updated on as well. So can't say enough great things about it. Really happy with it, and appreciate you guys watching me do this little build. And you know, and it's not necessarily over, but this was just the things I wanted to do to get the truck where I needed it for my purposes, you know. And then as time goes on, I'll update you on how this stuff works out and how it's going. Hey guys, so we're nearing completion on this great all-around Jeep Gladiator build, and it's time to put the finishing touch on it, the cherry on top if you want to call it that. The finishing piece to make it a Jeep. So I purposefully ordered this Jeep with the awesome hard top. I really like the hard top. I like that it has a sliding rear window. It's more secure. It's better for foul weather, especially in the winter time. But these things are a real pain to deal with when you want to take them off. So the Sunrider for hardtop is the perfect accessory because it acts like a gigantic sunroof. All of you have seen these already. I had one on the other Gladiator, was one of the first guys to run one on a Gladiator, and I picked another one up from a really cool member of the Jeep Gladiator forum. So obviously it's a used top, but he only used it for one season. It's in really great condition. He really worked with me on this and saved me half of the driving that it was going to take to go pick it up too, so thanks for that. Anyway, it's a twill fabric, and you know, I've had both fabrics on my Jeep tops over the years, the twill and the black diamond, and in my opinion, I would never buy any kind of Jeep top, whether it be a Sunrider or a full soft top or a super top for your truck, whatever the case might be. I would never get one again that wasn't the twill fabric because it's just so much nicer. It's a premium, high quality fabric. I mean, you can just feel the difference. Usually these also have a lifetime warranty on them if you buy them new, so the twill is the way to go. So anyway, I got to clean this thing up just a little bit. It's a little bit dusty, so I'm going to clean it up some and pop it on the truck. But like I said, this is the finishing touch. You got to have some way to enjoy the open air experience because that's what Jeeping is all about, right? So the Freedom panels pop off easy enough, right? But the problem with the Freedom panels is that, first of all, they're really hard to get in the bag. I mean, that bag that they give you for these is just a real pain. I usually have a hard time getting them in there properly and getting the bag zipped. And then even if you do get them in the bag, you still don't really have a good place to put them. I guess you could try and put it back there in the back row, but then, you know, you use up your available seating. You could throw them in the bed of the truck, but then you use up your bed space and you have to worry about them getting stolen or whatever. So there's just not really a good place to put them. They're just kind of cumbersome and a pain to deal with. And they're really, really hot. I mean, it's been sitting out in the sun today and these things are super heat soaked. And you know, that heat gets translated into the cabin of the Jeep. In fact, they're 135 degrees almost. And I've had them sitting in the garage for a couple of minutes. So, like I said, lots of heat. And you know, they're just kind of cumbersome. And by contrast, the twill fabric does not get heat soaked. It sheds heat pretty well and it holds up really great in all seasons. It's kind of quiet on the inside, honestly, compared to the hardtop panels because these have a reverberation to them, almost like a pair of drums, you know, when you're going down a rough road or gravel road. And you don't get that with the soft fabric. You know, it soaks up sound as well as heat, and it just works out really great. And when you throw the top open, you don't have to find some place to put things. So I really much prefer this, and I'm glad that Jeep now finally offers it as a factory option. So the other great thing about the Sunrider is that installation is a piece of cake. You don't have any of the framework to worry about like you do on the full soft top. You simply take your hardtop Freedom panels off and lay the Sunrider into place. Now if you buy this new, there's a little bit of assembly you have to do, and the really difficult part is those little cables right there. They have the little Z clips, as they call them, back in there. Those can be a pain in the rear end, but it's just a little bit of assembly, and then you just lay it on here. You can see you've got these little swing brackets here, and they give you obviously the hardware. Now this piece right here goes back there in the back to kind of sandwich it down against the sport bar. And then you just run your hardware in and you're good to go. Now the cool thing about the hardware, you can see that it's the Torx and the kit that comes with your Jeep. You know, all these Jeeps come with a tool kit. That tool kit will work on these as well. So Best Top, they thought about everything. So that's basically all there is to it. Now I will mention something that I just noticed. The design on this has been slightly revised, because in the past you had to take that little black nut right there and you had to use it here. You had to drop it down in that hole so that this bolt would have something to thread into. But it looks like on these newer versions, they're going ahead and putting that boss in there with the threads in it and the back, just like they did with the front. So you don't really need that nut. So I just put it on the top of this bolt in the front because it's a little bit longer to get it out of the way. But anyway, just FYI on that, if you have an older version of the top, you have to use that black nut back there. But it was pretty simple. If you don't have the Jeep tool kit anymore, it's a T40 Torx is what you're gonna need to tighten down those bolts. And there's 6 of them all together and you're good to go. And the other cool thing about the Sunrider is you can use it one-handed while you're in the Jeep driving, which you can't do with the full soft top. Yeah, on the full soft top, the entire thing folds back. And so most people don't have enough reach to do it from the driver's seat. But since the Sunrider is just the front section, pretty much everybody can operate this thing from the comfort of the driver's seat, which makes it so handy. Let's say you're going down the road and all of a sudden you run into a pop-up rain shower. You don't have to get off the road and get out of the truck and fool with the top. You can just stop and throw the top down real quick and you're good to go. So I like that about this too. But anyway, there's what she looks like. It's going to be a great addition. If you guys don't already have one of these, you need to get one. I think it's the perfect complement to the hardtop because it retains most of the security and, you know, all the great features of the hardtop get retained, but you can still throw this open anytime you want to. Whew, man, it's really hot out here. I think we're going to go down to the river and put the pontoon on the water. That's why I got my ugly looking fishing hat on today. But they also give you these little straps right here so that when you fold the top back, you can secure it down, you know, just to give you some peace of mind. I find that these are really not necessary. You know, I've been out on the interstates 70 miles an hour. I've never had a problem with this, but you know, if you want some peace of mind, you can put these straps on there too. You wrap it around the bars when the top is open and it keeps it from flopping around in the wind basically. So anyway, there it is, the final touches on this little project here. The great all-around Jeep Gladiator build. It's functional. It can haul, it can tow, it gets good fuel economy, it handles well, it's a great daily driver. I didn't lose the on-road performance because we kept the suspension, the tires kind of mild. But at the same time, it has more off-road performance with the winch and the bumper and the lift and the tires. And I've got the Sunrider on there so we can enjoy Jeeping on those nice weekends. Pretty soon, I'm going to put this air intake on here and finish that part of the performance up. It would be really cool if I could find somebody around here that would let me put this Jeep on a dyno and do some testing before and after, just to see if their claims are true. That might be something I'll look into. But we're getting close to the end, guys, on this great all-around Jeep Gladiator build. So thanks for watching. We'll talk to you later.